Well, joining me now is the New South Wales Treasurer, Daniel Mookhey. Daniel Mookhey, congratulations on becoming the Treasurer of Australia's most populous state. This, to me, has the hallmarks of your traditional black hole budget speech. How many hollow logs do you have in the budget and what are they worth?
Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for having me on and thank you for the congratulations. We just want to be straight with the people of New South Wales about the information that we've received since we came to power a couple of weeks ago. And we want people need to make up their own minds about what these numbers mean. But it's undoubtedly the case that we have been advised that the budget is facing $7 billion of difficult to avoid pressures. It's not information people would like to receive, but they are the facts and we want to give it to people straight.
And is that over the forward estimates? Is that over 4 years? What's the status of that?
Over the forward estimates. It is over the forward estimates. It is over the next 4 years. It obviously means that our goal is to return the budget to surplus, but it remains a difficult task, especially given some of the expenditure that hasn't been accounted for. It involves our critical public services. I mean, a good example of what I'm talking about with difficult to avoid pressures is 1,100 nurses. Their funding ceases in just a year's time. When most people rock up to a hospital, they would expect there to be enough healthcare workers. Our job as a government is to make sure that is the case, and that does mean we're going to have to look at the budget very closely, work through it line by line to make sure that every dollar that the public is investing is delivering value for taxpayers.
All right, obviously the Coalition forecast a return to surplus in 24-25. Are you saying they've been dishonest in their forecasts?
Well, I'm interested in finding solutions. I'm not interested in casting blame. It is for the former government to explain its decision-making here. But it is the case, for example, in that 24-25 year where the previous government said we'd have a budget surplus of around $322 million, that didn't account, for example, for the $385 million it would cost to keep those nurses employed. Either the previous government was intending to cut those positions from the hospital system, or they certainly would have had to have explained it between now and 24-25. From my perspective, we're focused on finding solutions here. We're not really interested in casting blame.
Are you going to make cuts then?
Well, we are certainly going to be making sure that every dollar of public money that is invested and every dollar of public money that is borrowed is directed towards the public's priorities. I want to make sure that every single dollar that is going out of the consolidated fund is delivering value for taxpayers. And that does mean we are going to look through the budget line by line. And if we do find money which we think we could redirect, that obviously remains an option.
Doesn't your wages policy cut across this though? I mean, you've got the biggest public service in Australia. Everyone, it seems, is likely to get a bigger pay rise than they did under the Coalition. So that's pretty problematic for your budget bottom line too, isn't it?
Well, I don't think we could ask our essential workers to shoulder the task of budget repair by themselves. I think equally the fact that we have such a shortage of teachers in our classrooms, healthcare workers in our hospitals, police officers in our police stations means that the government has to change approach about making sure we deliver these critical services. And we were upfront in the election campaign about our intentions when it comes to public sector wages. We want to fix essential services by treating our essential workers with the respect that they deserve. We have got our strict economic rules in place, and we will be expecting public sector productivity to go up. But we also are determined to find budget savings so we can make sure that when a person is sending their kid to a school, there's a teacher in their classroom.
How much are you willing to set aside for increased public service wages over the forward estimates?
Well, we're working through the wages policy now as we speak, but we've made it very clear we would expect public sector wages to be paid for by productivity and budget savings.
Okay, will infrastructure projects other than the Northern Beaches Tunnel and the like be cut or delayed in this budget?
Well, we went to the election promising to reprioritise some funding already. We were upfront about the fact that we will not be proceeding with the previous government's plan to put a tunnel through the Blue Mountains, which conservatively would cost more than $10 billion, for which only $1 billion was set aside. That's one project which will not proceed. You are right, Andrew, we did make it clear we will not proceed with the Northern Beaches link either, and we have outlined what our priorities are for the growth of the Sydney Metro network as well. Just last week, the Transport Minister and the Premier were upfront about our intentions to bring the Sydney Metro program back under control and to get it back on track and to rescue that project. So there is difficult challenges ahead, absolutely there are, but we are going to apply some pretty strict discipline about what we're borrowing to build. If we're taking money from our kids and our grandkids, we do expect that to be delivering value for taxpayers.
Will there be any increases in tax in this budget? Can you rule that out now?
No, we're not looking... Yeah, we made it clear at the election we are not looking to increase taxes, and that remains our position.
Could you wind back some of the vouchers, some of the giveaways that are on offer for parents and the like, and the government were handing out like confetti?
Well, we're working our way through all those programs to see which ones are funded and which ones are not. There's a lot of kids who are benefiting from those programs, and where we think that there's a clear case for them to continue, they will continue. And
from what you said this morning, or this afternoon, should I say, you expect to be providing some form of cost of living relief in this budget. How would that occur? Would that be electricity price relief or that manner of thing?
Yeah, Andrew, it's focused on electricity price relief. We went to the election promising to introduce a rebate for 1 million plus households as well as small businesses. We're working in partnership with the federal government to deliver that policy. That is a marquee example of cost of living relief which will be in this budget. The other one, of course, is toll relief. We got a mandate to commence implementation of a $60 toll cap from next year for 2 years, alongside a process led by Alan Fells to reopen some of those concessions and see if we can deliver a better deal. Mr Fells is underway in terms of the work that he's doing, and we look forward to, in this budget, introducing the toll cap that we went to the election with.
When do you anticipate people and businesses would see that relief come in this federal deal on the electricity bills? Would that be at the start of the next financial year or earlier?
Yeah, that's our intention, is to make sure that that relief is going out the door from the 1st of July. As we said during the election campaign, our policy was to provide a rebate for eligible households as well as small businesses that would be paid quarterly. That remains our intention, and we are working to complete negotiations with the Commonwealth to make sure that that policy is delivered.
Now, you made your name by attacking the former government's position on iCare. You also said last November that premiums were too high. What is your plan for making premiums lower for all the small businesses who use this insurance for workers' comp in New South Wales?
Yeah, Andrew, I'm really worried about the status of iCare and its principal insurance scheme. It, of course, affects 3.2 million plus workers and about 326,000 businesses. We've got to be upfront about the fact that the news in iCare has not been good for years. It is something which we will be announcing reforms to do. We made it clear during the election that we think that the regulator needs to have more power. We think that workers at iCare need to be treated the same as other public sector workers when it comes to their pay and conditions. We've made it clear that we don't think that iCare should have special privileges under New South Wales government procurement rules, and we do think that there is a role to have business and workers represented on iCare's board.
Do you anticipate premiums will remain the same, or are you able to see them lower, or will they increase under your government?
Well, I think that premiums have risen now twice in the last 2 years. As I discovered in opposition, now that you mention it, Andrew, that the previous government was having to take premiums up by about 40% over the next 5 years. My focus is to put downward pressure on premiums by delivering meaningful reform to iCare and the way in which it conducts itself and the way in which it administers the principal workers' compensation scheme in the state. But I've got to be upfront. The advice that we brought out through Parliament before we were elected made it very clear that premiums were having to rise significantly. I want to be confident that there is a serious reform plan in place for iCare, because that is the best way to deliver downward pressure on premiums at the same time we're caring for and respecting the dignity of injured workers.
All right. Is the New South Wales government likely to intervene to keep the Eraring power station open, do you think, in a couple of years?
Look, all options remain on the table when it comes to the future of the Eraring power station. We are monitoring closely market conditions, and we are working with experts both within the government and within the broad energy sector to ensure that both availability of power and affordability of power remains at the forefront of policy making here. But we make no apologies about the fact that all options will stay on the table when it comes to the future of the Eraring power station.
And finally and briefly, Daniel Mookhey, are you surprised to see your predecessor, Matt Kean, not put his hand up for Liberal leader?
I made it, when I was shadowing Matt Kean, I made it a business never to try to predict what he would do next and just wait to see what his decisions were. I will stick to that habit. Mr Kean's future is a matter for Mr Kean. I just wish him the best.
Daniel Mookhey, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.